Hi, I'm delighted to welcome you to this presentation which provides an overview of the key functions of eCAAT, the data analytics software. The key benefits of using eCAAT are summarized in this slide. The current perceptions of using data analytics software are given on the left side, and what you'll discover after using eCAAT is that data analytics software is definitely affordable, it's simple, technology neutral, and any professional can use it. We'll help you in demystifying data analytics by simplifying how to use data analytics software by using eCAAT. There are more than 175 audit-centric functions which are available to you in just a few clicks. Some of the key functions in eCAAT are listed here. In this presentation, I'll be giving a quick walkthrough of how to use these functions so that you can see for yourself how simple it is to learn and use eCAAT. Let me take you to eCAAT. You open MS Excel. eCAAT will work on any version about 2007. It could be MS Excel 2007, 2010 or 2013. Let me open a blank Excel sheet. You find here that eCAAT as an add-in to Excel, because once you install eCAAT, it will be added as a tab to Excel. When you click on this tab, you will find the ribbons and the functions which are available in eCAAT are displayed. You have the utilities, data, analysis, sampling, worksheet commands, and workbook commands. These are the ribbons under which all the options are given. The utilities functions gives you generic functions for making use of the data available in Excel much more easily. I'll show you some of the key functions a little later in the presentation. Data, as you see, is focused on analysis of the data. The analysis function help you to dive deep into the data and interrogate the data. Sampling helps you to select data as required. There are various commands which can work on a worksheet or on a workbook. When you open eCAAT, you find that most of the menus are disabled. The menus are enabled based on the sheet you open. Before opening and using eCAAT, it's important that you know some guidelines about how to use eCAAT. When you click on this menu, you find you have the guidelines which are given. eCAAT works on structured data which is in a tabular format. So the first row is generally the headings, and each of the column headings should be unique. There should not be any subtotals or totals. If there are any empty rows or columns, eCAAT can help you to remove all of them by using the specific functions, remove empty rows or remove empty columns. If there is a read-only file, eCAAT will not be able to work on this file. It will give a message that you are opening a read-only file, and eCAAT gives you the option to make a copy of this file and work on it. There is no undo feature in eCAAT, so we request you to back up your files before you work on this. As I said, the menus which are not required are disabled, and only the functions which are available in that particular sheet are enabled. Let me take you through eCAAT. When I click on sample data, now I opened a sheet called PAN. There are multiple sheets in this. Let me start with one of the simplest and the easiest, but a very powerful function. You will receive Excel sheets from your clients or colleagues, and quite often you find these sheets may not be named or they may not be properly identified. You do not know how many sheets are there. So you like to know how many sheets are available in this particular file. So we have a function called index. You click on index sheets and you'll see what happens is you will be able to get a listing of all the files with a brief overview of the contents of the files in terms of the number of rows, number of columns, and number of cells. Using this, you can navigate to any specific file. For example, I would like to work on the PAN file. So I click on this, I can get to the PAN file. Similarly, there is a function called index workbooks. Index workbooks works on make an index of the files in the folder. For example, here I've selected this folder eCAAT files demo. When I click on this and select them, you'll find that all the files in the workbook are listed with brief details of the date of creation, the last success date, and also the location. Now you can go to the specific function you want to use. Okay, these are two simple but very powerful functions which I've shown you in eCAAT. Let's come back to our original sheet, which is the sample data file. Now this is the document which gives a listing of the PAN files. I would like to first show you a function called format. Identify format. I'll just show you the function. I identified the field called PAN and I click OK. So you find here this function lists the characteristics of this particular field in terms of for each of the alphabets. It gives you whether it's a character or numeric. Now you know that each of the PAN numbers has to be unique in terms of the content, in terms of the structure. So based on this, you find there are 4 different formats of PAN number. You know which is the correct PAN number, so you can identify which are the numbers which are not unique or which are not in line with the particular format. This is how you can use the format. Similar to this, there is one more function. Welcome back. So in the PAN, you found by using the function format character, you are able to identify the format of that particular character. Let's say you would like to know which of the format is correct. So there is another function which is similar, and this is called as out of values by mask. You click on this, select the field which is the PAN here, and I would like to identify show wrong patterns only. Okay, which means by default I have provided this in the first row the correct PAN format. I click OK. Welcome back. Let us go back to eCAAT. I would like to know whether this format of PAN is in the correct format. So there is a function called by mask. I have selected the field, and by default the first row is taken as the correct format. I say show wrong pattern only, and I click OK. When I click OK, you find it has identified all the PANs which are of the wrong pattern. So this shows you how easy it is to use eCAAT. Now let's go to some of the other functions. Identify changes. When you click on identify changes, you find that it compares 2 worksheets and highlights all changes or non-changes as selected, and also displays the list of changes as specified. Now I'm using 2 sheets, sales area 2013 and sales area 2014. I would like to compare whether the content of each of these sales has changed. I click on identify changes. I select the file the folder. I have selected 2013 and here I am coming to select 2014. Okay, display only new sheet records, identify cells that have changed, and I highlight the color in which I want the changes to be shown. And I click OK. There are other options also. We'll come to the other options later. I click OK. Now you find it has compared both the sheets. It has added a new sheet called Identify Changes, and what are sheets have changed, these are highlighted in the color you have specified. This is how simple it is to use Identify Changes. Now let's go to the next function, which is Identify the Sequence. Now I got a list of the invoice numbers. If you look at the invoice numbers are from 1/4/2011 to 31/3/2012, and the last number here, if you look at the numbers, the invoice number is 1001 and the last number is 7664. I would like to verify whether the invoice numbers are in a sequence. So just see how simple it is to use. I click on sequence, I click on the invoice number and select OK. Now eCAAT gives me the results in a jiffy. You find there are 13 invoice numbers which are missing. 1035, 1158, 1455. It gives you this. Now regardless of the number, it will perform the function and give you the result. Now let's go to the next function. We would like to identify gaps in numeric data. Now I would like to see whether there are any gaps in the invoice number. So it gives by default the starting value and the ending value, and the interval I selected as 1 and I click OK. Now I find the invoice number is given here. You find the missing gaps. There are 10 invoice numbers, 1035, 1 is missing, and here you find 5849, 2 invoices are missing. This is how simple it is to identify the gaps. Now let's go to the next function. How do I identify duplicates? You just highlight the function. You will find a tooltip there. Identify duplicates. You can also identify uniques and remove duplicates. I am clicking on the function Identify Duplicates. Identify duplicates. I want to find duplicates in the invoice number. There are also multiple options which will not be covering here. I can get the results as the details or as a summary. I want to find the duplicates in the invoice number. Now we know there are 6,664 invoices. I click OK. Now you see there are totally 24 duplicates which are available in the invoice numbers. So it gives you the details of each of the invoices. For example, 1034 is duplicate, 1454 1454 is duplicate. Like that you will get the complete list of the duplicates. Now let's perform the same function in a little different way. Identify duplicates. I want to identify the invoice number and I would like to see the summary of the duplicates. So we are looking at the summary. I click OK. Now you find there are 12 because 1034 there are 2 invoices, 1454 there are 2 invoices. Like that it has given you a list of the duplicate invoices. I hope it's very clear. Let me show you one more important function, which is the Ecad filter. Ecad filter is similar to the filter which is in Excel, but when I demonstrate to you, you'll see what is additionally available in Ecad. This is called as the dynamic filter. Once you click on the dynamic filter, the results are displayed in a result form. This is the common result form where most of the functions of Ecad are displayed. So you'll find the information here. The beauty of this function is that you can dynamically get the result. For example, I would like to pick up records pertaining to Dinesh. You will find the records pertaining to Dinesh are automatically selected. Similarly, I would like to pick up all records which are approved by RA. You will find all this list of the records which are selected by RA are given. You also find the total number, the statistics of this. Similarly, I would like to find out all transactions which are greater than 20,000. You find I have got this information of all sales greater than 20,000. So just to show you how simple it is to use eCAAT. This is the dynamic filter. Now let me show you another important function which is called Stratify. I would like to do the numeric stratification. I stratify based on the sales and total the sales. By default, you find it has identified the minimum value and the maximum value in the sales field, and it's also given by default the increment value. I can select this increment value or I can give another value which I want, and I say there are two options, autofill or free interval. I select the fill interval, so it means the options are selected. Now I click OK. Now you find here the result is displayed in the result form. Strata 1 500 to 25,499, there are 4,606 records. From Strata 2 25,500 to 50,499, there are 1,303 records. You can also, by clicking on this, you can sort this on any of the fields. Not only that, you can double click to drill down and get the result. This is the function Stratify. So far you would have seen in most of the functions you have to highlight the function to understand what the function is. Select that particular function. For example, let's say I want to do classify based on the name and I want to have total of the sales. And I select the fields I want to display. Here I have selected all by default and I click OK. Here you find it has given the classification of the sales as per the name. I find here there are two parties which are blank, and for each of the parties I got the number of transactions, not only number, the percentage, the sum and the percentage of the sales. So at one shot I can get a complete categorization of the accounts as per the name. Let's do this function again, classify based on the user ID. I would like to know what are the transactions which have been done by specific user, and I look at the total of the sales. I click OK. So here I get the information. If you see here, for each of the users, I get the number of transactions. Now, first field I find that first row, there are 10 transactions for which there is no user ID. After that, you find A has passed 969 transactions, ER has passed 2 transactions, like that a complete list of all the transactions which have been done. So far you have seen in most of the cases, it's very simple to use eCAAT. You have to click, select and you will get the result. Data analytics is considered to be a art because analysis has to be done based on the information required by the user. The science of data analytics is what is processed by the computer. Now let's look at aging. When you do aging, by default it has selected the date for which the data is available. The aging date is also given and I have given the increment as 30. I would like to change this to 45. Okay, and there is a intervals. Now, which means I can autofill the intervals, which means each of the interval will be automatically 45 each. Okay, I can get the results in the form of a summary or the details. I look at the summary. I click OK. Now you find the aging results are displayed here. 0 to 45, how many number of transactions? 45 to 90 days, the number of transactions. 90 to 135 days, the number of transactions. So this gives you the complete list of transactions. Now this shows you how easy it is to use aging. Let me show you one more important function which is called MIS. I click on MIS. Now you find here it has different options. I'm going to select day of the week, and in input I'm going to pick up the sales and I'm going to pick up the date here. I click OK. Now just look at the result. I'm getting the number of transactions which have happened on each of the weekdays, whether it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, etc. As I said earlier, you can also drill down by clicking on each of these functions. I hope by now you're quite clear as to how simple and easy it is to use eCAAT. Let's look at the next function, which is summarize. Let's do a quick summarize. So I do a quick summarized and I want to select the field sales. I want to accumulate based on the sales. Let's look at the result. I click OK. For each type of sales, I get the summary. For example, sales of 500, there are 26 transactions. Sales of 750, there are 26 transactions. Sales of 1000, there are 26 transactions. Like that, it gives me the complete categorization of sales as per each of the categories. Now let's look at the sampling. Let me do a stratified random sampling. I do a numeric stratification. In the case of numeric stratification, I select the field which is the sales and the field to total is the sales. Minimum value, maximum value is given. Let's say I give the increment value as 20,000 or let me give this as 50,000 and I say autofill. I say OK. Let me show you the results of stratified random sampling. Now this is stratified and given the data that between 500 to 50,499 there are 5,909 records. Between 50,500 to 1,04,99 there are 745 records. Now I would like to use it for sampling, which means higher the value I'd like to pick up higher the size. So in the case of this one I would like to select 8. In the case of the second sample there are 745 records. I would like to pick up 3 records. In the case of the third strata, I would like to pick up 2 records. In the case of the last, I would like to pick up 1 record. So depending on my own requirement, based on the value, I have selected the sample size. Now I want to extract the sample. I click on OK. Based on the parameters I have set, it has selected the samples and gives me the result. I can also save these results in an Excel file directly by clicking on Excel. You find this result would be saved in Excel. If you see this, these are the stratified random sheets which we had. Now let me show you some very powerful functions. Let's come back to sales transactions. Statistics. I would like to know the statistics for doing a data profiling, and you can get the different types of statistics. I set the parameters and say OK. eCAAT goes to work, is computing the statistics and gives me a summary of the statistics. For example, for the numeric field, which is the invoice number, it has identified there are 3 null fields. It also gives me the sum. For the sales field, it identifies there are no null fields and it also gives me the sum. It also gives the minimum value and the maximum value. It also identifies there are any negative records. Similarly, I can get the statistics for the date field. I can also get statistics for the character fields. So the first thing which is done when you're using a data analytics software is to do what is called as data profiling. You want to verify whether the data which you obtained is correct and complete. And the function you use for that is statistics. There are various other statistic functions which will show you in the detailed presentation later. Now let's go to another function which is relation. Now in relation, we can join 2 files. So far we have seen only single files. Here we will find that we can join 2 files. Now I'll join 2 files, which is the sales file, and there is one more, the authentication limit. Before I perform the function, let me show you the files. We have the sales and we have the authentication limit. Now you find for each of the user there's a limit, and in the sales transaction you find there is a user ID, which means for each user there is a limit which has been prescribed. What I would like to do is join these 2 files and identify whether any transactions which have been done by the user beyond the limit. So I have selected the sales transaction and the authentication limit file. I say user ID is equal to user ID, and it gives me different options. Only match records for both the tables. Records in primary file not matching with secondary file, or records in secondary file not matching with the primary file. So I identify only match records for both the tables. I say OK. Now you will see the results which are displayed are for each of the users. Wherever the user ID is available, it also adds the limit. Once I have got this information, I can save this file in Excel by clicking on Excel tab. Now I have got this information. I can use a simple function where I identify, let's say, the sales, which is B2 is equal to, or B2 is greater than G2. So there is an issue in the sheet. We'll come to this later. So this is how we can do the analysis. Let's come back to sales transaction. Okay, we have the result here. Join sheets. This is the result we had. Let's check this. Plus B2 greater than G2. We got this. False. Based on this, now I can filter. I click on this data, filter. Now based on this, if it is true, which means the user has past transactions beyond his authorization limit. For example, MM in this particular case has entered transaction of 48,650, whereas limit is 30,000 rupees. Okay, this is what we have done by joining the files. Now let's look at one more function in this, which is relate files, which is similar to the join files. Okay, I'll not get to the details. Let's pick up one more file, which is the compare files. For comparing the files, I'll open a new file, which is the demo data sales compare. Okay, I have this invoice file 2015 and 2014. Okay, I'd like to compare the invoices of 2014 with the invoices of, let me pick up 2014 with the invoices of 2015, and I'd like to compare the amount with the amount, and I'd also like to know the total based as per the amount group. No, I would like to have as per the salesperson, and the difference I would like to have pertaining to the amount. I say OK. You find now the sales comparison between each of the sales. We are knowing what are the sales made by the salesperson in 2014 and 2015, what are the total amount and what are the difference. For each of the salesperson, we can get a summary. So you see how simple but powerful functions are available in eCAAT. This is how we can use the relation functions. All the functions which are done are also maintained in an audit log. You can view, because in this case we have not created an organization. I can create an organization, add the details of the organization, and this would be added. And all the functions I have performed would be available in this particular file. Let me close with one important function. And for this, I'd like to show you some templates. Now let's go back to the file which I was referring to, the sample data. Now this authentication check is what I would like to perform. The sales transaction, if you remember, we're doing here. Let me delete the fields which is not required. Now let me tell you the objective. My objective is, there is a sales transaction which has the listing of the sales with the user ID. There is an authentication limit which has the user ID and the limit. I would like to identify whether all the sales which have been made by the user are within the limit. Now earlier we saw we could get the details as per the user. Now I would like to use this template which is called as the authentication check. Based on the authentication check, I would like to know whether all the transactions have been entered correctly. Right? So I have the sales transaction and I have the authentication limit. Let me start with the template authentication check. I have the sales transactions, and here secondary file I pick up the authentication limit. Now in this case I say user ID is equal to user ID, right? And I want to find the second thing which is sales and the limit, and I would say sales greater than limit, and I say OK. Now you find at one shot I'm able to find out all the transactions for all the users which have exceeded the limit. So don't you think this function is very powerful? You can do 100% watching of transactions using this simple function. I would like to conclude with one last function, and which is the analytical review. And for this I have to open one more file. Let me open the demo data file, which is the demo data schedule. Now this is the balance sheet file as per schedule 6. What I would like to do is use the function called analytical review. Analytical review, I would like to see there is a difference between 2014 to 2015. What is the change for each of the heading between 2014 and 15? And let's look at the result and see what we get. So if you see here, for each of the fields, I've got the figures for 2014 and 2015. I've got the absolute difference and also the percentage difference. So it means at one shot I've been able to identify the differences along with the percentage. This gives me an idea about where are the major changes which have taken place, so that I can drill down and do further analysis. So you know, in most of the cases when we perform a financial audit, analytical review becomes very, very important. So this presentation has given you a quick overview of some of the key functions which are available in eCAAT. As I told you, there are more than 175 functions. In this presentation, I've just given you a quick overview of some of the key functions. Our objective is to help make data analytics simple, and eCAAT is an add-in to Excel which can help you perform audit setting functions in a very, very simple way. I hope this presentation was useful. You can watch more presentation on specific functions in the other videos. Thank you. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the future presentations. Bye.